So this is fiscal austerity. Then we have monetary austerity, which is increases in interest rates. And this is something we're very familiar with because we've seen increases in interest rates, and this is happening also in Brazil. So the fact is that increases in interest rate is not something neutral that the state does. And here I answer the question. Interest rates is not neutral, that is done for the good of everyone. My book tries to tell you there's no economic policy that is neutral. All economic policies have effects on different classes that are different. There's always winners and losers, and the majority are the losers. So what you see here is that interest rate hikes not only make it harder for people to take a mortgage, to take money to live, while of course those who have capital make a lot of money right now lending capital, right? You get a lot of interest on your capital if you have capital right now. But it's worse. What happens is that interest rate going up have the effect of increasing unemployment. Why? Because it has an effect of a recession on the economy. So there's less job openings, there's more unemployment, and this is done on purpose because the whole point here is to weaken the bargaining power of the unions and of organized labor. So what we see here is that when workers try to mobilize, and this was what happened after the First World War, the story I tell in the book, but it happens again even now in the United States, when workers try to mobilize, try to ask for better conditions, and even to find different ways of running the economy, rejecting exploitation as the basis of our economy. And our economy is based on exploitation, meaning that the majority, the workers produce much more value than the value they put in their pockets. So it doesn't matter how much you get paid. The point is that you're always producing more value with respect to the value that you get in your paycheck. And this is technically exploitation. So the moment in which workers are trying to go beyond exploitation, this is when austerity is very powerful because it increases unemployment, increases our vulnerability. The fact that we need to pay for school and healthcare, for example, means that we need to go to work. So it increases the economic compulsion of us having to go to work in order to exist. And if you have to go to work and the labor market is bad because interest rates have caused the recession, this plays in favor of increasing the rate of exploitation because you can keep wages lower. Okay. So, and then there's industrial austerity, just to conclude. Industrial austerity is about privatizing. The state sells off. So the state actively sells off the industries so that workers get from being public employees with rights are thrown into the impersonal competition of market forces that brings down the reservation wage. Then industrial austerity is about labor deregulation, making us all very precarious, again hitting the unions and fundamentally keeping wages low. So this is the trinity of austerity that serves the common purpose of preserving the capital order. Now, what happens? What is the future of the unions? Of course, the point is that as the history of capitalism progresses, austerity is implemented more forcefully and more intelligently in ways that are also hidden, because in a way we know that under authoritarian regimes, austerity is very explicit. Take, for example, the case of Pinochet in Chile. It was very explicit that in order to implement il ladrillo, you needed to also kill political opposition, jail people. The same happened with Mussolini. Mussolini outlawed unions and made strikes illegal and used the law to bring down wages. So we see that these cases are very explicit repression that goes with austerity. But then there's also other cases like what we see today in many other liberal settings and democratic settings, is that austerity works in a way that is more less explicit, more it's hidden, and so for example, the way they do it in democratic settings is with independent central banks. So the importance of the independent central banks, are a way to exclude people from decision on monetary policies, so that the central bank can in fact increase interest rates without any opposition. And this is a way to, again, do austerity without saying eliminating the possibility of people opposing it, right? So again, there's degrees in which you can de-democratize the economic sphere. And in current democracies, in Italy, for example, you put the balanced budget in the constitution. So it becomes a technical matter and people cannot oppose austerity, right? But it's still the same way of de-democratizing the economic space. So what is the impact on unions? Well, they get weakened, of course. And this is the whole point. Again, austerity, unfortunately, is not a mistake. It's wrong to see it as a mistake because that's too naive. It's not a mistake. It's purposefully there to tame class struggle and to maintain the balance of forces in favor of employees and not in favor of workers. Now, I would like to say, though, that as people who look at history critically, we also know that unions can get weakened by austerity, but the class struggle is never over. Capitalism is not a fixed natural system that is going to last forever. It's based on political relations. It's based on the fact that we do have to accept the current condition. And this is why ultimately workers, given that they're the majority, are always strong and can always mobilize. And this we're seeing very well in the United States today. Workers are winning a lot of battles. The automobile workers, for example, went on strike for a long time and just got very good results. And there's many struggles always happening that challenge the capital order. So what I want to say is, of course, unions get weakened by austerity, but this doesn't mean that austerity will win forever. The point is to understand that it is a tool of class oppression that we can mobilize against once we understand that capitalism is not a universal, eternal economic system, but is a system that is specific and is based on our exploitation.